Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a really dangerous new reality for anyone doing business online. We're going to show you how rising fees, a massive gamble on AI, and a brand new, kind of shocking physical threat are all coming together to create a perfect storm. And it's one you absolutely need to understand. Let's dive in.
You know, for millions of sellers, Amazon has always been the main gateway to e-commerce, right? But the price of admission to that gateway, well, it's getting higher and higher. If you're a seller, you've definitely felt this. The ground is shifting under your feet, and it all starts with those fees you're paying every single day. And we're not just talking about little yearly price bumps here. Nope. Data that sellers themselves have put together shows a really clear trend. Over the last 10 years, the key fulfillment fees, they've jumped anywhere from 60 to a truly staggering 125%. I mean, that's not just beating inflation, it's leaving it in the dust.
And it all leads to this one kind of jaw-dropping number. According to a bunch of different reports and what sellers are actually seeing, once you add up all the referral fees, the FBA charges, advertising, all the little surcharges, Amazon can now take up to half of a seller's total revenue. It's so much that people have a name for it now, the Amazon tax.
So where is all that money going? I mean, why is this squeeze getting so intense all of a sudden? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle lies in this massive bet Amazon is making on the future of, well, everything. Artificial intelligence.
In a recent announcement, Amazon just stunned the market with a spending plan of nearly $200 billion. Now, to put that number into perspective for you, that is more than the entire economy of a lot of countries. And the vast majority of that cash is going into building the physical stuff, the data centers, the custom computer chips, for its cloud division, AWS, all to power the big AI revolution.
And this quote just brilliantly captures how the market reacted to that news. Amazon's CEO, he pitched it as a sign of strength, right? A confident investment in the future. But Wall Street, they saw a number that was over $50 billion more than they even expected. And they saw something totally different, a company that looked desperate to catch up in the AI arms race.
And that pressure they're feeling, it is very real. For the first time ever, the competition isn't just catching up. In some ways, it's actually pulling ahead. In the last year, Microsoft's cloud, Azure, added more new revenue in actual dollars than AWS did. Now, for the company that basically invented cloud computing, that is a huge psychological and financial blow. So what happens when you spend this kind of money? Well, it puts an enormous strain on your finances. Some analysts are now projecting that Amazon could be looking at a negative free cash flow of $17 billion. For the first time in years, this is a company that famously funded all its own growth, now telling investors it might actually have to borrow money just to keep building. All this massive investment in building physical data centers all over the planet, it creates a completely different kind of vulnerability. And it's a risk that is no longer just some theory, but is becoming terrifyingly real. Now look, this isn't just speculation. This comes directly from Amazon's own official filings with the government. For years, they've had to acknowledge the risk that their physical infrastructure, the actual buildings and computers that power the cloud, could be damaged by things like geopolitical conflicts or even terrorist attacks. And recently, that theoretical risk became a very physical reality. News broke that multiple AWS data centers in the United Arab Emirates were actually struck by drones. These attacks caused fires, real structural damage, and huge power outages. It was the first time a major U.S. tech company's data center was knocked offline by military action. The impact was immediate, and it was severe. We're talking about core services that are the absolute foundation of the modern internet. Things like EC2 for computing power, S3 for storage, and RDS for databases. They were all just knocked offline. The whole situation was so serious that AWS had to officially tell its own customers in that region to try and move their operations to other parts of the world immediately. Okay, so let's just pause for a second and connect all these dots. You've got these skyrocketing fees that are squeezing your profits. You're totally dependent on a platform that's making a super risky financial bet. And now there's a new, very real physical threat to the infrastructure your business literally runs on. This convergence is what's forcing businesses to start looking for an escape plan. For a lot of businesses, the first most logical step is to build out a direct-to-consumer channel, or DTC. And when you look at the math, it's pretty compelling. While Amazon can take 40 to 60% of your revenue, a typical D2C setup has fees closer to maybe 5 or 10%. That difference, that's pure profit you can put right back into growing your own business. But for real, long-term resilience in this kind of crazy new era, just changing how you sell things, well, it isn't enough. The most forward-thinking companies are looking deeper. They're looking at fundamentally re-architecting their entire digital operation to escape the core problem that creates all these risks in the first place.
See, the core issue here is something called vendor lock-in. It's when your business gets so tangled up with one company's specific services, like AWS, that the cost and the complexity of trying to leave are just astronomical. You're effectively trapped. You have no graceful escape when the fees get too high, when the service goes down, or when the data center itself is at risk.
So the solution, according to this new school of thought, is to actually engineer for resilience right from the beginning. It's really a three-step process. First, you have to identify your most critical dependencies. Second, you build what's called a clearing layer. It's basically a layer of abstraction that makes any cloud provider a replaceable commodity part. And third, you achieve what's known as protocol sovereignty, which basically means you own the rules of how your data and services talk to each other, not the vendor. This shift in thinking, it's pretty profound. The goal is to move away from paying for services, like a certain amount of computer time, and start paying only for results. It basically transforms your infrastructure from a house that you rent from a single landlord into a flexible portfolio of assets that you are actually in control of. At the end of the day, this convergence of financial pressure and physical risk leaves every business owner, every developer, every entrepreneur with one crucial question. It's a question about dependency, about resilience, and really about the future of your business. When the platform you build on is both your landlord and a target, who is truly in control of your destiny? Because in this new era, resilience isn't just a strategy. It's the only thing you truly own.